guys, this is Ricardo Robinson Chanel from On a Water Break podcast, and I am here with the wonderful and amazing, talented directors of Paramount Winter Guard, Rick Subel and Andria Foerch. Hey guys, thank you for coming on today. So, we do this thing before we start anything. It's called a 32 count life story. Okay. So, I'm going to give you 8 on the Met, and then you get 32 counts to tell your life story from birth to now. All right, so we'll switch off. We'll do you first, Rick, and then we'll do you, Andrea, after that, okay? 8 clicks, and you're in. You ready?
Got this.
All right. And?
I was born and raised in Alabama. I was in high school band. I learned about drum corps. I marched in the cadets when I was 15. When I graduated from high school, I went to Berklee College of Music in Boston, where friends from the cadets at that time were in color guard and said, hey, we march in this group called Emerald Marquee. You should come and march. I had never marched before. I showed up in jeans. They had no idea what I was doing. They never cut me, so I marched there for 5 years and learned a ton from some of the best people in the activity, especially about how to just be a great color guard inside and out from Great Dale Powers. When I say aged out, the age out rule happened my last year, so I decided to teach because I was asked during my last year of marching to come back and teach. So I taught Emerald Marquee right after the age out rule, taught a bunch of groups while I was performing, moved down to Georgia, loved it, moved to Texas, taught some high school band there, taught a million different groups and a lot of different drum corps, moved back to Atlanta because I loved it, started a wonderful color guard with my wife Andrea at Paramount, and we've been doing it ever since, and we built it up, and we're part of a huge community in Atlanta, mentoring a million people and helping as many people as we can make great color guard. And that is today. We just did semis, and the guard had a great run, and we love them.
Wow! That was a 32 count life story right there. You went through it all.
Still got it.
The whole thing. Yeah, still got it. I love it. All right, Andrea, same thing. You ready? 8 clicks on the mat.
All right.
Life story, beginning to end. Or not end, beginning to today.
I was born and raised in Florida. I marched at Seminole High School. Before that, I did baton from age 6 to 8th grade. So I did a little bit of twirling beforehand. Did color guard at Seminole High School for a little bit. Then I marched an independent color guard called The Company. I did that for 5 years until they disbanded. After that, I ended up moving to Pennsylvania for just a short segment of time. And then I moved to Texas where Rick and I met up. And then we decided to move to Atlanta, started our own color guard there in Atlanta, Paramount. And we've been doing that for the last 14 years. And today we had semifinals. They had a great run, and we're really excited for tomorrow and really excited for this season.
I love it. Great job. See, that's a 32 count life story for you guys. You got to get all this stuff in there, and you got to keep it moving. So, enough about that. I want to talk about Paramount this year. They are a crowd favorite show, one of my favorite shows. I refused to watch it on any kind of like digital media or whatever before seeing it yesterday live, and I tell you, it is just stunning. Where did this idea come from?
Well, after last year, we had an amazing season, obviously. And, when you start thinking about, like, what do you want to say in the next year? And the word that kept repeating in my head was change, whatever that means, to be different, to try something different, to not go back to the well again for the same kind of thing. So to be drastically different and unique. I think we've been pretty chameleon with ourselves over the year. We've allowed ourselves to not do a signature kind of thing. But within that, I think we've still carved an identity of the kinds of stuff that we explore. But the show is about change. It's about where change comes from. It's entitled The Harbingers, and a harbinger is an agent of change. It could be an idea, an inspiration. It could be a person. For me personally, I've been influenced by a lot of harbingers of this activity, people that have brought new ideas that changed things, but also changed me. When you're a young, impressionable designer, you have lots of conversations with people, and they may say something that you just hold on to like a seed, and eventually it works its way out of you and branches out of you, and it becomes something that started 10 years ago as a small idea. So I just love that idea of how something we do now has effects later. I love doing shows that for the 20-somethings gives them something to think about. They right now are harbingers to 10-year-olds, 12-year-olds who see that and go, I can do that too. They're going to go out in the world and be young designers one day. They're going to listen to different music than we all did in our generation. They're going to have different influences, and they're going to bring that new sense of artistry into the activity, and we all have to be ready for that because that's the future and that's how we evolve. So that's basically what the show's about.
Love it. Love it. So I was having a conversation earlier with Carrie Short, and we were making mention about how you know, a lot of groups out there don't make finals. And we talked specifically about how in those first couple of years, Paramount was not a finalist, and Paramount was still one of my favorite color guards back then. What advice do you guys have for instructors who are trying to push and make that grind to get into finals to be the best that they can be? What would you say to your younger self 10 years ago when you weren't in finals?
Well, yes, we were the perennial 19th place semifinalists for a few years, 4 years actually. And then on the 5th year, something clicked and something changed, ironically. I think the biggest advice is we learned from every year. Each year was different for us. You know, we walked away and we thought, okay, this is going to be the one, and it wasn't quite the one. It didn't quite get there those first couple of years. But I think learning from those experiences and saying, what didn't we hit the mark on? What did we hit the mark on? Because we obviously did something right to get to where we did get to, you know, and kind of hold on to that and continue to tweak and work through things. I think talking to a lot of different designers, it was helpful for Rick for his process to say, tell me how you think about this and what do you think, you know, what are these things? So having those conversations and really understanding, you know, we have strengths and then there are opportunities that we had to work on and really capitalize on. And so I think that we started to work our way through those opportunities and chip away at them a little bit, little by little, to get to where we are today. And I think that that's really important. You know, we wanted to do big things our first year out, and we weren't there yet. We weren't ready for that yet.
Yeah.
We had to really understand how to get to that place first before we could do big things.
Yeah. One of the things I love about your organization is that you guys are a family, much like many other organizations, but the Paramount family it runs strong, and you guys have put a lot of new instructors out into the Atlanta community, the surrounding areas, and you are slowly but surely changing the face of color guard in your area. Was that an intentional thing when you started this, or is this just an excellent byproduct of doing the thing that you love to do?
Yes, I would say, you know, back in the day, but as an old schooler, maybe I grew up in the 90s marching, and there are old ways of doing stuff that maybe didn't always settle right with performers, you know, like you felt different, and then you go to a place where it's like, okay, this feels like home, this feels real, I feel safe here, I feel protected here. And so again, I mentioned I marched at Emerald Marquee, and it very much was like that. It was built by us, for us. We felt like we owned it. You know, and it wasn't just something that gave something to us. It's something that we knew we put into, but we also took ownership in it. And so it did feel family. It's the first place I really could identify that. And I knew I wanted to kind of replicate that. Not just something that would be a vehicle for success, or to even just to put out shows and do artistry and that sort of thing. It's just that I wanted it to feel great. You know, if you know, those rehearsals that aren't right, I don't want to live in that. I don't want to have those bad rehearsals. I don't want to have that bad vibe, or, you know, it's just like, if it's not working, we figure it out and, you know, make it right. So we are very sensitive to what does it feel like to be a part of our thing. And so kind of going back to that earlier question to Andrea, for those people that are kind of like struggling, finding their ways, the first thing to figure out is what it does is not as important as what it is on the inside. You get that part right foundationally, and the students will stay and they'll take ownership, and everybody will kind of be all in on that project. And so even now, like, yes, I'm the designer for Paramount, but I'm sharing ideas with the staff and the technical staff and the design staff and even the performers that they all feel like they can take ownership of, and we built this thing together. You know, it's my favorite thing to say to them on finals night when it's all over, is like, look what we all built together. And that kind of ownership, I think, is huge. And I think that's why it feels like that.
Love that. I love that. So besides your own color guard, who else are you guys excited about seeing this weekend? If you get the chance to see, do you get to watch other color guards?
We do. Yeah. I mean, you know, timing's never great, you know, but obviously I loved being able to see the groups that I work with. I think that's exciting. You know, for a group with me like Tarpon Springs, I never get to see them live. You know, the first time I saw them in costume doing the show that I helped put together was at the Bellbrook exhibition the other night. So I'm crying. The show's exciting, but I'm crying, like, you know, it's emotional. But I love that for one. But then, you know, the standard setting groups that are out there right now, you know, like Avon is incredible. And I can feel what that must feel like live on video. So I can't wait to watch them in finals tomorrow. I know that they're going to bring it. Those are some of mine.
I think A-Class is really exciting tonight to watch. It's one of my favorite nights to be able to view things. I think the top independent A groups are really exciting in there, and a couple from Georgia, so we're really excited for that. And then Scholastic A is always a blast for sure. I'm very excited to see Tarpon. I'm very excited to see Avon. I think that I've heard just wonderful things about Avon, so I can't wait to see them live, which that'll be tomorrow. And I'm actually really excited to see some of the beginning performance times for Independent World as well. Those are the classes and the shows I identify so well with, just because we spent so many years just working through and trying to get to that place. So cheering on those groups for sure.
Love that. Love the segment that we do. This is called a gush and go. Anything that you are excited about, it can be about the pageantry arts, or it can be anything in life. If there's something big going on, what are you gushing about today?
All right, I am gushing about. I think Rick pointed out this a little bit. When I marched years ago, it wasn't the same as it is today. I love when the Independent World groups are passing each other in warm-ups, and everybody's screaming, "Have a great run! Have a great run!" You know, they know each other. They're just cheering each other on. I love the camaraderie between all the different teams, and I think that we can learn from that. I think we can learn from our youth in this activity. They're so supportive and just love doing color guard. They love cheering their friends on. So.
Absolutely.
My gush and go is I have a lot of friends in the percussion side of things, and I got to dabble a little bit and help a group this particular season, but this will be my first time watching percussion championships, so I'm elated into the moon. Also, we brought our dogs, so we have our dogs this week. We get to sit back and relax and not be stressed out at a show, but a big show, and support all of our teams, all of our friends on the percussion side of things.
I love it. Well, Rick and Andrea, thank you guys so much for being with us on a water break. Guys, if you are not following us, please make sure that you follow us on all of your socials at On a Water Break Podcast, where you can see this interview and many more like it. Thanks, guys.